say is it's been a while since I've done a video, and it seems a bit strange. I'm so used to doing the PorscheCooled podcast. I'm so used to being behind the mic, so to speak. The only people I really see on camera these days are all the great owners that I've been meeting, all the owners that I've been chatting to on the PorscheCooled podcast. And I guess this video today is a little bit about that. It's just a quick one. It's a quick update one. I just want to touch base with you guys, so to speak, and talk about the podcast, actually. I guess the first thing I want to say is to all of you who have been watching it on YouTube, and I know there's only a handful of you, and I do put it up for you. I do put it up so you can watch it. I like that it's on YouTube as well. I like that it's on all the podcast platforms, but thank you for the people who've been listening to it on YouTube. You know who you are. Thank you for the comments. Thank you for the support. I really appreciate it. The podcast in general has been quite amazing. It's weird, you know. I've done YouTube for quite a few years now. You know, with mediocre success, I should say. Mediocre success. You know, I shouldn't say that. I have 4,000 odd followers, so it's still great. It's a niche thing. Talking about Porsche is quite niche. It is quite limited. It is a select group of people. But I tell you what, I don't want to talk about anything else, except for watches, of course. I like to talk about watches, and I like to talk about tech. I like design and those sort of things. But the Porsche community and doing the PorscheCooled podcast, the PorscheCooled podcast, I should say, has been fantastic. One, I get to every Friday. Well, it's not actually live on a Friday. You guys that listen to the podcast know that. It's done on a Wednesday. Steve and I recorded on a Wednesday. I put it up on a Friday. If you're a Patreon member for PorscheCooled that supports the podcast, Patreon exclusive member, or PorscheCooled exclusive member, or PorscheCooled exclusive plus, you get to listen to that podcast 24 hours earlier than anyone else. And I know you guys like that. I know a few people. I can see who listens to it. I can't see who listens to it. I can see there's a few listens beforehand. You can listen to it straight through Patreon. If you are a Patreon member, you can add that to your Apple Music or whatever as a feed. If you do a search on Patreon, it'll tell you how to do it. I do it. It comes up on Apple when our podcast comes up, and it comes up on the Patreon feed comes up beforehand. So you can listen to it on a normal music player, or you can just listen to it through Patreon. I know it's a bit odd, but it does actually work with iTunes, and I think it works with Google Podcasts as well. Sometimes I'm wrong. But anyway, back to the podcast. It's been unbelievable. I had a really good conversation yesterday with a Porsche owner who's just bought a 992, who's coming up in a few weeks, Elliot. And I think he made the point at the end when we're off record, I think, about how I've been talking to all these people around the world, all these people, all these Porsche owners, and it's a weird thing. I don't think about it. I really don't think about it. I think about getting the podcast out every week. Like, I feel, I have to admit, sometimes I feel a bit stressful that, we've got to get the 2 episodes out, and then I've got to get it a day for Patreon. I'm tying up Steve, and as you know, Steve now, his schedule is going to get really hectic because he's about to have another baby girl. Or baby. Sorry, Steve. I think you've told everyone. Whoops, I better cut that out. So Steve's going to get really busy, so maybe for a few episodes on Friday, Steve won't be around. Obviously, I'm still going to have the Friday episode. I'll try a different way of doing it, and we'll see if you guys like it. Any feedback you give me, just send me a message through, the best way to contact me, I keep saying, is through Instagram DM. The thing is, I have 3 accounts on Instagram, but if you contact me through PorscheCooled, that's always a good one, or Michael.Bath. But anyway, that's not the point of this. I'm not plugging Patreon, I'm not plugging Apple or anything. All I want to say is I want to say a big thank you, because honestly, the feedback I get from the podcast is, I say it in every Friday's episode about the Apple ratings. That gives me an idea of what countries we're getting into, and I'm blown away by that. I really am blown away by that. And then we have the I have the owner stories, which Steve doesn't do, and I do them on my own. But meeting all you guys, and I'm not just saying this, I know this is a very YouTube thing, but it's fantastic. Connecting with you guys has been fantastic. Last year, it was, obviously the weirdest year. This year hasn't got much better. And like I was saying before, the podcast lets me connect with Steve, my mate in Sydney, my very good friend for a long, long time, 20 must be 20 years almost, Steve, I think. And it's great that I can connect with him. It gives me a bit of reality. I'm missing Sydney, I'm missing Australia, I'm missing my car. My car was damaged, as you guys know. It's not terrible, but all these things lead up to the point where it can throw you off balance. And the podcast, I have to say, brings me back. It gives me a focus. It gives me a focus outside of the normal work life that I have. It gives me a focus to give something back to, I guess the Porsche community that I haven't been in that long, but it's, I don't know how to explain it. It's just been fantastic. But I love the owner's stories. I had a great conversation last night for an upcoming one with Elliot from Seattle. I had a really good one the week before, which is coming up with Mark. You guys haven't seen this yet, so I'm just telling you the one's coming. Mark from the UK with a Cassis Red, air-cooled 911, which is fantastic. We've got a Boxster owner in Sydney coming up soon. Next week's one is a Boxster owner in Sydney. I did a shout out to Cayman owners. I've got I think 3 Cayman owners that want to come on. We were in the charts in Norway, and now I've got a guy from Norway, which I mentioned in the podcast this week. I've got he's got a 996 GT3. I have a long list of different owners, and there was a review on Apple today. We had 3 new reviews on Apple, all really good reviews, all great reviews. And one guy said it's mainly water-cooled focused. Our podcast is water-cooled focused. And I guess that's because, I don't have that much of a problem with it, but I know Steve. Steve likes to talk about things he knows about. He doesn't like to make it up. I'm a little bit more casual about that, as you guys know. I make mistakes. I'm not an expert. I keep saying it. I'm an enthusiast. I love Porsche. I love my 997. I don't want to sell it. I'm looking for a 912. I found almost, and I think Ajmal, flat cap driver, is going to laugh at me, but I found almost the perfect 912E. I found a 912E, which, I'm tempted to get due to the price and due to the style of it. I like it. It's a bit out there. It's not everyone's taste. And that's what I always talk about. It's like the owner's stories. You don't think your story is a great story to tell. Everybody's story is a great story to tell. And that's what's so great about it. And that's what I enjoy. I finish it. I finish this podcast, I record it. I'm recording in Bahrain. As you can see, I'm in Bahrain at the moment. There's no London skyline behind. I got my great poster though. If you haven't got one of these posters, you should get one. I'll put the link in the description. They're fantastic. Nick put me on that. Nick, who's my mate in London, who was on the first owner's stories, but that guy, but it's great. I saw him on Instagram. I didn't realize he sold them. It's fantastic. So anyway, I'm in Bahrain at the moment. Not going to be in Bahrain all of this year. We're moving back to Australia if we can get back via London, as I say. But the podcast has been great. I'm going to keep doing them. We're going to do owner stories. I've got another idea. Well, it's actually not my idea. It was Steve's idea. Another concept based upon something we've talked about in the podcast before, which is going to, I guess, broaden the whole scope. It's like an owner's stories, but it's not. No one's doing it. No one's done it. And it's going to be fantastic. And I'm really looking forward to that. And I'm going to tie that up. Hopefully, when I get back to London and when I get back to Australia, I can actually do some live interviews with people. Hopefully the COVID restrictions are done. Hopefully I'm still in London beginning of summer and I can do some live interviews. Hopefully I can meet up with all the guys in the UK that I've met through this podcast, through the PorscheCooled Podcast, through YouTube, through chatting, through Instagram. Hopefully I can meet some of those guys. Hopefully I can go to events and just enjoy it, before I go back to Sydney and film it as well. I want to film it for the YouTube channel, as well as doing podcasts. There's a lot of stuff I have in mind to work out. Anyway, it's Thursday night here. The weekend is tomorrow. It's Friday and Saturday. It's the weekend. I'm doing an owner's story on Sunday morning with a guy from Canada, which is going to be good. But I think that's about it. I just want to say a big thank you. Thanks for the support. I'm glad everyone's enjoying the podcast. Honestly, it's blown me away. It really has. And like I said in this week's episode, if you haven't listened to it yet, or it's about to come out, I think, the numbers of downloads is crazy now. And I really, really appreciate it. We really, really appreciate it. And Steve does as well. I should say Steve, and Steve, the podcast is nothing without Steve. Our Friday episode is the backbone of the podcast. Without that, as good as PorscheCooled Owner Stories is, the conversation with me and Steve is it all comes together as one package, and it makes it special. And that's, I don't want to say it was planned, because it wasn't really planned. It's just I have ideas in my head. A lot of the time I don't go forward with them. This one I did, and you know what? I'm so glad that I did. All right, Thursday night, Natasha's actually cooking me dinner, so I have to go. Thank you, everyone. Bye for now.